Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of 13 Rings and NFC East podcast. We are in season 2 and we are kicking off season 2 by having our very first Cowboys guest, the fanatic himself, DMV of DMV Fanatic Podcast. Welcome to our podcast, sir. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate y'all for having me.
Absolutely.
Welcome.
So, Earl was the one that reached out to DMV, so I'm going to give the floor to Earl. And Earl's going to be asking you some questions, DMV, about how you came to where you are and your fandom with the Cowboys.
Alrighty, thanks, Lucas. Hey, DMV, thanks again for taking time out to come out to our podcast. It means a lot to us. Thank you.
No doubt, man. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
All right, your first question. Tell us about your football background and what got you into the Dallas Cowboys.
Man, so that's a loaded question. So my football background, I played from about the age of 6 all the way to about the age of 21. So I did have some college experience playing football. And as far as the Cowboys go, they're probably one of the reasons that I played football. So it's funny because I'm in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. So most people would think that I'm a Commanders fan, right? But
hang on. What part of DC? What part of the DMV are you part of?
I'm from Virginia. I'm in Arlington.
Hey,
Virginia.
I live
Yeah.
I live in right between Charlottesville and Lynchburg. I hear you.
Yeah. So the thing about it is here in the DC area, because I'm so close to DC, I'm about 5 minutes away from DC.
Yeah, that's
Half of
close.
half of the people here are Cowboys fans. I can't explain why, but it's just that way. And Emmitt Smith, I was a running back. Emmitt Smith was who was hot at the time, the starter jackets and all that stuff. And I just been
Mm-hmm.
stuck with the Cowboys ever since.
Okay.
Respect. He's
Well,
one of my favorite
where
players
did you
too.
play college? Where did you play in
I,
college, man?
I played at Howard University, so right across the bridge in DC.
Didn't hold up? Didn't we have another guest that played in that same division?
DMV, do you know Chris by any chance?
Chris who?
Chris
Webb.
Chris Webb. Chris Webb. My bad. Chris Webb.
Yeah, that was my teammate, man. That's my dog. Yeah.
We had him on the podcast.
I knew it.
Small world.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I know him. Yep. That's the matter of fact, we supposed to be doing some work together pretty soon.
Okay.
Nice. But that's awesome, man. Like I'm glad you followed the right team, first and foremost. So, and Emmitt Smith is definitely one of my favorite football players as well. I grew up watching him and pretty much implemented my game. When I was a little younger, I played running back, but the more that I got older, I ended up shifting the linebacker and slot corner.
Nice.
All right. Next question. Why did you start Dallas Cowboys podcast?
Well, actually started it by accident. It's actually funny. So I also coached high school football for about 10 years. And one of the ways that I stayed sharp in the off seasons was I started looking at draft prospects. Like eventually, like I would, hit on certain prospects. And one of my friends was like, you should start, you should actually put that out there. So I did this video. I did a couple videos on prospects when I first started. Didn't even know I was a content creator. Didn't know it was a podcast. Didn't know any of that stuff. And it kind of hit a little bit. And I've been doing it ever since. And I met up with Mark Holmes probably a couple years ago. And he said, "Hey, you should get serious about this YouTube thing." And I was like, okay. Didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know what I was getting into. And I think that was probably maybe 2017. So we're looking 7 years later, and the draft is around the corner, and hey, we're about 12K subs in on YouTube.
Hey, that's what's up, man. Love the grind. All right, next question. Favorite Dallas Cowboy memory?
It was such a long time ago, but I think my favorite Cowboys memory. Ah, man, can I say an honorable mention?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. My honorable mention is Emmitt Smith breaking Walter Payton's record. That's my
Yes,
honorable
I
mention.
remember that.
Yeah, but my overall favorite is the pick six in the Super Bowl 30. I think it was Kevin Smith picked off Neil O'Donnell and took it to the crib to seal the victory. That's my favorite memory. It was a long time ago, but I remember it.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that memory as well. Mine is actually I have a memory back when we played Buffalo in the second Super Bowl when we played them, where stripped Thurman Thomas and James Washington, picked up the ball and scooped and scored for the touchdown. That was one of my
Yeah.
favorite plays because they were basically scouting the pitch and they timed it perfectly and back to back Super Bowl champions.
Man, our memories were so long ago, man. We need some new ones.
I know, man. I'm just continuing to have faith in the team. They know what they got to do. Front office know what they have to do. My next question: favorite Cowboys player of all time?
I think I answered it, but it's definitely Emmitt Smith. He's my favorite player of all time because he's the reason that I started really paying attention to football in the first place. And it's actually funny when I used to play, people would say, "Oh, you remind me of a fast version of Emmett." I didn't know the but yeah, Emmitt Smith definitely is my favorite Cowboys player of all time.
Respect to that man. He's actually my favorite football player as well, all time Cowboy. I actually growing up based my running game like his. Always like being able to utilize game speed whenever I ran the ball. And from my brother Lucas said I had deceptive quickness. And
Hmm.
during that time, I pretty much wasn't like super fast, but I had that top speed whenever the game tempo kicked up.
I
So
definitely
yeah, that's
understand what you're talking about.
yeah,
DMV
that's cool.
Earl's just being modest. Earl, if he didn't mess up his hip, he might have been playing D1 like you guys.
Hey, hey,
Yeah,
look, that sucks, man. But things happen for a reason, and now we're here and we're talking football. You know,
amen, amen, brother. I have one more question for you. What are your what are your Dallas Cowboy thoughts you want to share?
Like anything that you got brewing right now on your heart. We like to think of this podcast as a therapeutic podcast, as a way to let out your feelings.
okay.
Because Earl after that playoff loss, let me tell you, Earl. I think that was
Mm.
our second most viewed episode. Earl
It was
definitely
good.
laid into it. It was
I cooked
therapeutic.
for 20 straight minutes.
For 20 straight minutes, bro.
We
For
didn't want to
20 straight
me and Maurice
minutes.
did not want to interrupt.
Yeah, we had to let him go. Just let him go.
You, you know what? I had to take my video down.
Wow.
When I had to take mine down because I was like, "Oh, this is really, really bad." I called everybody a punk. I called the coaches B words. I just
Ooh,
went in on everything. So I definitely understood
I
where
had to
where,
keep
where you're
it. I
coming
had to
from.
keep it PG. Like I,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
went in on Micah and his podcast. I was saying how he got chin checked in games, talking about other people getting chin checked. He got chin checked as well. It was just, I just went in on everybody. I went after the coaches. I went after the quarterback, especially went after front office. And
Yeah.
yeah, like I promise you, I was recovering from that like big time. But overall, I'm better, but it still stings because I feel like this team was capable of going further in the postseason.
yeah. Any Cowboys things that you want to get off your chest? Now's the time to
Yeah.
do it, sir.
Yeah. So originally I shared a lot of the same sentiments that Earl did. And it sounds like we had a lot of the same things to say, but I was able to calm down and really look at it from, an outside view, took my Cowboys glasses off and really thought about it. Like I said back in week 5 when San Fran whooped up on us down there, that this team has no championship DNA. And I knew back then, but you get a couple more wins in, things start looking a little different, and then you go in and you lose the same way. I had it right then, and it really starts from the top down to the bottom. And It really, if you think about it, the championship DNA of this team, really the people who have the championship, who were here the last time that we had a championship, they really had nothing to. They didn't have. They weren't really in the kitchen for it. They wrote the checks, you know. And when it comes to building the championship, they have not. They don't know the blueprint because the blueprint went to Miami, you know, and that's really what it's going to come down to. A lot of people are talking now about Dak's extension. They're talking about extending Micah, extending CD, and all of that type of stuff. None of that matters if they're not going to go out there and bring people in. If they're not going to draft, if they're not going to draft real football players, if they're just going to put business first, we're going to continue to lose like we did. We're going to continue to be a hollow roster where we're top heavy and some of the bottom is good, but the guys in the middle, no championship DNA, soft. You know, that those are my thoughts. My thought is overall we're soft. The players they've said that. They keep saying it. We got out physical. We got this. We got that. Yeah, you did. And how does it change? It changes from the top. They have to change their approach. If they're not going to change their approach, if they're just going to shine up a turd and keep keep moving forward with how they've been doing things, then hey, we're just going to be disappointed. And Husa, there we go. I got it out. Thanks, guys.
Ooh, you feel better? I've never heard that term before. Shine up a turd. That is funny.
That's how it basically is, though. It seems like they'll get a flat, and they'll patch up that flat instead of getting a new tire. The more holes they get in the tire, they continue to patch it up instead of just getting a new tire. They keep doing the same stuff. It's a repeated cycle, and until they change it, it's going to continue to be what it is, and especially this season.
Earl, I want you to share with DMV your thoughts about what should happen with ownership in regards to Charlotte Jones.
Okay. Yeah, I had a take a couple of podcasts ago where I feel like Jerry Jones gave the keys to the wrong child. I actually believe he should have given the keys to his daughter, Charlotte. I think you never know. She might do a better job than Stephen Jones. I just feel like Stephen Jones is too complacent. He's more of a cheapskate. He always wants to win the quick dollar instead of going after the ring. He wants to win that dollar ring instead of a championship ring. And I feel like that's hindering the team. The philosophy of we like our guys, that's not a championship DNA because you can draft the guy, and especially with Will McClay, I heard him say, we pick him, we play him. And that's not how it works. It's got to be best man who competition is the better man out on the field, that who deserves to play. I don't like the football politics. And I just think Charlotte Jones, with her care, I think she might do a better job than Stephen Jones right now. I think Stephen Jones is intelligent in his signing the contract, but at the same time, I think Charlotte would be better running the team as an organization that would get them in the right direction.
I agree with that because I think Charlotte would hire a real GM. And that's really what's missing in Dallas is the fact that it's run like a mom and pop shop. Now, the thing about it is this is probably one of the biggest organizations in the world when it comes to sports. And it's run like a small business. Like I gotta wear the GM hat, I gotta wear the president hat, I gotta be the owner. Like I'm doing all of this type of stuff. There is
corporate Cowboys.
There's no accountability, and there's nobody to really. He's not gonna fire himself. You know, there's no urgency in that position. You know, you look across the league, nobody else is the owner and the GM. They have people that are GMs, and if they don't perform, they're gonna get fired.
Facts.
In Dallas, nope, that's not it. It's really just it's business first. It's about the brand. The brand first, football second.
And that's the
And
problem.
that is the problem because there have been women owners out there that have won. I want to say I know one woman owner at least. There might be two. 'Cause I
The
know
Saints owner,
no,
isn't
but yeah, the Rams had a woman owner at one point too, and they won the Super Bowl. So I was just gonna say there have been two women owners during that time that have won Super Bowls since the last time the Cowboys have even been to the NFC Championship game for that matter. So I definitely think Earl is onto something there, and I think Charlotte she would have to hire a GM. See, Steven doesn't really have. We talk about championship DNA, and sorry, I'm going on, I'm rambling, but um, Steven was there, but Steven didn't really make any decisions when things were really going on. Steven's really just a trust fund baby. Like he really doesn't have stripes on the wall. And in order for him to really get the keys to this thing and know how it's really built, I look, I can talk to him blue in the face. I think, like Will McClay said, like you pointed out, we pick him, we play him. And Boss Cowboy always talks about the stepchild theory, them being the stepchild and the real son. I truly believe in that. And hey, that's where we are because you guys won't pick a certain type of player. You won't sign a certain type of player. You won't open up the checkbook when there are players that can come in and change. And hey, this is where we are getting bounced out in the wild card.
Yep, I got one more take on this. That you mentioned that DMV, this time around, they have no choice but to pay the player because their draft stock isn't what it was the last couple of years. So they have no choice but to get someone in free agency in that regard. I'm getting word that they might not even put a franchise tag on somebody. So that means that they might be looking elsewhere, but only time could tell.
In order to do that, they have to extend that. They have to extend that.
Yes.
And I don't have a problem with extending that. But what I have a problem with is, like I said in one of my videos, if I'm Dak, I'm like, all right, if I do you guys this favor, what the hell are you bringing in with the money? Don't tell me we're going to still sign back these same players and we're going to continue to do what we've been doing, that we're close. Don't tell me that. Nah, go get some players to alleviate, some of the stress in some of these games. Because, I mean, if you look at it, none of the superstars do well because it's everybody's game plan to take the superstar out. Your role players have to step up in order to, so that your superstars can do their work. And that's not what's happening. The surrounding cast has not been good enough. It just hasn't. You look across the league, the guys that made the NFC and AFC championship, they had surrounding cast, they had whole teams. So that's how I feel about that. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. We came on. We asked you to come on here to talk Cowboys, and that's exactly what you did. But now we're going to transition. Mal, talk to us about the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so we haven't recorded since the Super Bowl, so let's get some reactions on that. As you guys know, the Chiefs defeated the 49ers in overtime, 25-22. Patrick Mahomes hit McCole Hardman on a 3-yard touchdown pass in overtime, and that kind of secured it there, which brings me into who our MVP is, and that is Patrick Mahomes. He had a great game, and he completed 34 of 46 passes with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception and finished with 333 yards for the game. So what are your reactions, guys? What do we think about the Super Bowl?
DMV, you are the guest. You get to go first.
You guys are too kind. I love the Super Bowl, to be honest. I know that a lot of people were like, oh man, this is boring. I thought it was great. The first half was a defensive half. The second half, they had to make adjustments. I thought both teams played well. And I think that the Chiefs, we talk about it, championship DNA has been something that I've been talking about. The Chiefs, it's the reason that I picked them to win. They showed the most championship DNA. They outlasted them. They were down 10. And they found a way to claw back Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. They have a little mini dynasty over there. I thought it was a great game. I thought the halftime performance was good. I thought the commercials were better than they normally have been. I have no issues with the Super Bowl at all.
Yeah, I thought you can go, Lucas.
Oh, okay. Thanks, man. I just got to say a few things about this game. First off, the 49ers did not lose this game. The Chiefs won this. I do not look. People are going to bust on Kyle Shanahan, for the overtime decision. Look, you know what? I understand it. Is it something that I would have done? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not an NFL head coach, but I understand the logic behind it. So I'm not going to bust him on that. And he wasn't the one that had the botched punt return. He didn't fumble the ball, okay? And he didn't, there were so many things minor things that led to this loss. But I'm not going to blame, like I said, I'm not going to blame Brock Purdy. I thought Brock Purdy played great. I thought Kyle Shanahan did the best that he could. The only thing that I'm going to blame Shanahan on is having 3 straight series with 8 out of 9 plays being throws. Shanahan likes to do that's the only thing that I will blame Shanahan on. But yet again, I don't know if that, decides the game or not. So I agree with DMV. I think it was a great game. I think that looking now, you could put Andy Reid as one of the best head coaches in NFL history now, based off his success in Philly and in Kansas City. And then you also have to put into the factor here is how close are we to Patrick Mahomes being the GOAT? And I think that's really a good conversation to have.
One thing I take from the Super Bowl, it was a great game. I agree with what DMV said. It was a complete team win with the Kansas City Chiefs. They have that championship DNA. That's one thing that I liked about what the Chiefs have done. They built their team and their defense in the draft. Honestly, they have the youngest defense going, I believe, around 26 years, 190 something days. Like, they have one of the youngest defenses that is pretty much built in championship DNA. And one thing I can take from Kyle Shanahan is that he got a second chance with being able to go after and try to take down the Chiefs. The funny thing was back in 2019 season, they basically had the Chiefs, they were winning by 10. And this time around, they were winning by 10. And then it was just constant mistake after mistake with these guys. And it is what it is. But at the same time, that if your team is going through it, you got to run the ball with CMC because you pretty much, he's your MVP guy, your most athletic running back. You got to utilize him, get him the touches he needs. And that clearly wasn't the case. I feel like they fired the wrong coach. I think Steve Wilkes deserved another chance. My blame, I will put it on Shanahan because he's starting to see a pattern with him in his championship run. So it is what it is. Congratulations, Chiefs. Y'all win again. Got a mini dynasty going on.
I wouldn't call it a mini dynasty at this point. I would say it's a dynasty because I can definitely see them winning 2, maybe 3 more easily. And
Maurice, do they repeat? I mean, three-peat. Do they three-peat this year?
I mean, the odds are on them right now to three-peat. So listen, this was supposed to be a down year for the Chiefs. I mean, they had to rebuild that defense. They're young and they still got the job done. Kudos to Spagnuolo for turning that defense into a championship caliber defense when a lot of people didn't think at the beginning of the season they were going to repeat. Remember, in the middle of the season they had a lot of troubles. They were in a lot of troubles during the middle of the season. So for them to turn it around with Andy Reid and Mahomes, and for them to do what they did in what is considered to be a down season, congratulations to them. I can definitely see them three-peating. They just need to upgrade that receiver, but besides that, I can definitely see them repeating. And Lucas talked about Mahomes. I could easily put Mahomes as the second best quarterback right now.
So he's over Montana now.
Yeah.
Do we agree there, guys? Is Mahomes in the hierarchy better than Montana now?
I think so. I mean, honestly, I think that he's the most talented quarterback that I've ever seen play the game. And I mean, if you think about it, talked about them upgrading that receiver. I mean, hell, they won 2 in a row with no receivers. Like, yeah, I've never really seen anything
That's
like
impressive.
it. Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. So I'm not ready to put him above Tom yet because I seen Tom do a whole bunch for a long time, but he's definitely exceeding the pace right now.
Agreed.
Yeah, and Wilkes, I thought that was a bad firing. I don't think he shouldn't have been a scapegoat for that team's loss.
Yeah,
I
that was
mean,
wrong.
yeah, I didn't agree with that. I mean, let's be honest. I think we all can agree when that game went into overtime. I'm gonna speak for myself. I didn't believe that if Mahomes got the ball, I thought the Chiefs was going to win the game. I didn't think they were going to lose. If Mahomes got the ball and he had a chance to go down the field, there was no way they were not going to win that game.
Truth.
Yeah,
It's true.
no, I mean, look, the guy's clutch. He's clutch.
He makes
But-
the plays when needed.
Yeah, Mao. You've asked the question. You haven't answered it yet.
Yeah, I know. Basically, I thought it was a really good game too. I really enjoyed it. I was frustrated with the result because and I don't know why I was rooting for the 49ers. I couldn't tell you. But in the end,
I know why.
I know
know
why. You hate the Chiefs.
Because
really do
they
hate the
knocked out
Chiefs.
your boyfriend's team, the Ravens.
Yeah, I do like the Ravens.
And
So
there's one player you don't like.
I don't know why.
Eternally.
who was that, Earl?
Kadarius Toney.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother different story. But he didn't even play. He's the one in the group project that gets an A for not doing anything. That's really what Kadarius did. But I mean, hey, whatever. He has a second ring, so he's the one laughing. But no, I thought it was a good game. I thought Mahomes came up clutch as he normally does. And to answer your question that you asked before, Lucas, I do think they're gonna three-peat. I just have a feeling about it. It's just the way that I think it's gonna go.
Very well could happen. But it's time to get to our team news roundabout. So, because we do have a Cowboys guest on, it only seems appropriate that we talk about the Cowboys first. And Earl, a lot of new things going on with the Cowboys since last time we podcast a week before the Super Bowl. So, tell us about it.
All right, bet. Dallas Cowboys, they've signed Mike Zimmer as their new defensive coordinator. He's not a player's coach, he's a coach's coach. He has tough coaching. There's no buddies with him, no best friends, no emotion, straight business. One thing that I like about this hire, and I know it was one that he was one of the best guys out there, I think he's going to be able to change the culture with the defense for Dallas as well as be able to get them on the right track. A couple of tweaking, and I believe the defense will be A-okay. We definitely need traditional linebackers. This hybrid safety linebackers, it's got to go. We got to go back to a basic of a linebacker, a true linebacker. And that's something that I've been preaching about because I played linebacker. It's basically the quarterback of the defense. DMV, what do you think about the hire with Mike Zimmer?
I like the hire. I hate the process though. The reason that I hate the process is I felt like they gave Dan Quinn too much respect with it, and in turn it had us waiting, and then we got the short end of the stick with candidates. Because for me, if Mike Zimmer would have been the best candidate throughout, even with the young guys, even with the Super Bowl coordinators and all that type of stuff going out there, then I feel a little bit better about it. I feel good about the candidates that were out there and getting him, but Dan Quinn going all over town, interviewing during playoffs, all that. I just felt like, we've gone through that how many years in a row, and it didn't seem like they really had a plan for it. But regardless, I like the hire. I like his I like how tough Zimmer is. I've always liked Zimmer. There were times that I wanted him to be our head coach, to come back to Dallas. And he's always been tough nosed. His defenses have always been tough nosed. They've always hit hard. They've always flown around. So I'm excited to see what tweaks he can make to this current defensive roster.
Okay, so you're not mad at the Commanders for hiring him. You're just mad about how long we took to hire him.
No, it stalled.
No, well, y'all didn't
stalled
want
on
see,
time.
the Commanders.
He was the
didn't
last
really-
resort.
Yeah,
He was
I would
not
say
the
Commanders
last
didn't want him.
resort.
He was definitely probably the third. He was the third resort. Because
I mean, I personally, and I said it for weeks, that I wanted Ben Johnson. I think it's kind of weird the type of loyalty he has to Detroit, but okay. Like there's not very there. Like the Commanders had one of the best job openings. I'm surprised that he did not. Okay. Anyway, I'm done lamenting about that. I've accepted the Dan Quinn error. It's going on in DC. I will have the best mindset that I can for it and hope for the best.
He's not a bad coach. He's putting together a pretty good staff. I think.
Yeah, no, I love the staff. The staff, except for Kingsbury, don't like that, but everything else looks pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, well, looking like Chicago's going to probably get Caleb. So
I want Jaden Daniels. I want Jaden Daniels. Please do not draft Sam Howell 2.0.
Yeah,
why you going
Caleb? Well, then
you mean
Daniels
Drake May?
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, Drake May 2.0.
That's what he meant.
Same thing.
That's
same
what he
thing.
meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What did you say?
No, I was agreeing with you actually, but with Daniels it would look a little bit better with Kingsbury, and the college type of NFL offense. So it might work out a little bit for you guys. Might take some time, but I will say this, and this: the Commander fans are not very patient.
No, we're not. Well, I will say this. When I see Daniels, I see an RG3 with good knees and that knows how to slide.
Yeah, I think he. I'm not. I think that he's more accurate too. I think.
He is more accurate. But the big thing is that he can slide, because that was RG3's biggest thing. He just wouldn't slide. And
slide.
See that right slide.
There. Slide now, baby, slide.
The thing is that you're not wrong. Anyway, let's get back to the Cowboys, because the Zimmer hire wasn't the only thing that happened, right, Earl?
Right. We also signed Greg Ellis as one of the 3 assistants added to the staff from Mike Zimmer. We also added Paul Gunther. Yeah, he's going to be the team's run game coordinator. And we also picked up Jeff Zagonia from Washington, who was with them the past couple of seasons. But he's also worked with Mike Zimmer in Cincinnati and Minnesota. So it looks like Dallas is going to try to fix that solution that was a major problem for them, especially with stopping the run. I think with Mike Zimmer being the defensive coordinator, he could work with Scott McCurley. I know Scott McCurley's been taking a lot of heat. And yeah, I know DMV. I know. And it's one where I think they should have gotten rid of him, but how Mike McCarthy stated that he was going to stay, it seemed like he kind of handcuffed Mike Zimmer, like how the Joneses handcuffed Mike McCarthy. And it's basically Zimmer working with what he's got. So I'm glad he was able to pick up Ellis, Gunther, and Zagonia to at least help and work with these coaches that definitely needs help. I think Greg Ellis will be an upsize from Dirty, who went to Seattle. And I think Gunther, especially being in the run game coordinator, would teach these guys, Osa, Golston, get these guys going, especially with stopping the run. But I also believe, I don't know if Gallimore is going to be back this coming season, but hopefully we can address that in the draft or free agency to get someone who can initially stop the run. DMV, what you think?
Man, I like the hire of Greg Ellis, the familiarity, because remember when we drafted Greg Ellis, Mike Zimmer was the defensive coordinator during that time, or it happened at a certain time. That Paul Gunther was in Cincinnati with him, and that was the time where that division was called the Black and Blue division. At that time, you did that division, even Cleveland. It was tough to win games in that division, So I'm excited about that. I'm not excited about Scott McCurley because the reason is, I mean, I just feel like I just feel like I know that he's a Mike McCarthy guy. That keeps us from being able to go out and get Steve Wilkes, in my opinion, who is a passing game coordinator, which we really need. Um,
Agreed.
and he understands the Shanahan tree that has been giving us hell for 3-4 years in a row. We obviously need somebody that understands it, and homeboy don't got he doesn't have it as a linebackers coach. I'm just gonna call it what
Yeah,
it is.
I feel like we should have kept George Edwards. I think adding him with Zimmer, that would have really helped that linebacker room. Because it seemed like after this past season, the linebacker room completely vanished like a Thanos snap. Like it
Yeah.
really wasn't there. They have to address it coming up this offseason.
For certain, it's not even just address it. They have to rebuild it. They have to rebuild the linebacker room. We actually have to go get players for it because they got rid of everybody during the season. Like during training camp and during the season, got rid of linebackers. So they're definitely going to have to address it. But bringing in Gunther is definitely a step in the right direction. I just hope that his voice is heard. I hope that they find a way to get the staff on board on the same page.
But let's talk about Micah Parsons in the NBA All-Star Weekend, as well as his comments on the Stephen A. Smith show.
Okay. Yeah, Micah Parsons, he's a great athlete. Like him being able to be in the celebrity basketball game for the NBA All Stars and stuff like that, he was he was balling out. It was to the point he crossed up Stephen A and sent that brother to the hospital. And like looking at his stat line for the game with winning the MVP, he had 37 points and 16 rebounds, which included 19 points in the second half alone. Hey, I mean, he's a
As
great athlete.
as Stephen A.
This is
Smith said, he was running over men, women, and children. No regard.
hey, they were on the court. But great job to him. I know he had an interview with Stephen A. Smith, and from that interview, I'm and maybe DMV can contest to it as well. I think the Cowboys just need to stop talking. Like they really
Mm.
have no room to talk right now, and the one solution they need to do is the media is going after them. They want them to throw Dak under the bus. I feel like DeMarcus Lawrence, when they interviewed him, he had a lame answer. I think it could have been better, but at the same time, he was just throwing out an answer for them just to get the interview out the way. Micah, on the other hand, it seemed like when he was talking to Stephen A, he threw DeMarcus Lawrence under the bus for his comments. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Micah he's trying to be a leader, but in order to be the leader, you got to talk to the vet leader, and that's DeMarcus Lawrence. I feel like if he would have talked to him behind the scenes, would have been fine instead of putting him on blast to the media, especially to the ops and Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, I mean the thing about Micah, I mean I'm going to disagree a little bit with what you said because
Okay.
the thing about the Cowboys not talking, they haven't been talking for years, and they still find ways to come up with stories. They still find ways to spin things. I'd rather them come out and it actually be their words than it be speculation or a leak or something like that. The media is going to media. The Cowboys bring ratings. I mean, um, throwing D-Law under the bus. I mean, I don't know if I'd say he threw D-Law under the bus. I think he just disagreed with what he said as far as being tired. And I mean, I understood what D-Law was saying. I just think D-Law just didn't articulate it well. I think
Yeah.
D-Law was really saying we got to deal with so much stuff other than football that it's a lot. I really think that's what I got from what D-Law said, and I mean, if you think about it, everybody else is kind of saying the same things. It's just that how he phrased it, how he articulated it wasn't the best way to do it. But in the same token, I'd rather these guys come out, CD, Micah, talk through their problems, and because they said all the right things. It's about accountability. It's about I need to be a better leader. I need to step up. I should have said something. I should have done this. I mean, yeah, it's a little too late, but I'd rather my young guys figure it out now. Because look, D-Law, as much as we love D-Law's never won anything.
Truth.
As much as I love him, and I'm not dogging him when I say that, but Stephon Gilmore came out and did the same thing similar. He has won something. He has championship DNA. Brandon Cooks has been to a Super Bowl, has been deep playoff runs. So they know what it looks like. And they were saying that what D-Law said was crap as far as them being tired. But the things that they said were things that we're saying. So if we want if we want all the Cowboys to be quiet, we miss out on the gems that those guys said, where it's like our young guys need to be tough. Our young guys need to focus up. Things need to happen like this. They should have been happening like this. So I don't know if they should stop talking. I don't think they should stop talking. But you got to add action behind it. And it's not just on them. It's on the front office too, because guess what? They're never going to stop talking. So if they're never going to stop
letting
talking,
it happen.
Yeah, why should the players stop talking?
Let me chime in here. I got rid of the Dak thing because I have one quick question for you, because we can talk about Dak's extension another time. But what I want to ask you is, if this team would have fired Mike McCarthy and hired Bill Belichick, would the culture have changed?
That's tough. So
yeah,
is Bill in charge of the personnel, or is he not?
Let's just say Bill gets what he wants.
Yes, the culture changes. Yes.
Okay. Do you think Jerry would let the culture change?
If you were to give him that, wait. I think so. Yeah, I think so, because he learned his lesson with Bill Parcells, because they did allow him some control with the personnel, and then he got us back a little bit. So, and then he ran him out of town with a lot of the same antics that he's doing today. But I think that if Bill Belichick comes in here with 6 rings, double the rings that you have, I think if you allow him.
Wow. Wow. Talk about a shot. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing he can tell. There's nothing he can tell Bill Belichick at this point if he allows him to have that control. At that point, you just got to step out of the way and then just run the team from your ivory tower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it would definitely change it. It's just the situation with Stephen Jones. Because if they're able to come up with something in regards to it, I think it would work. I had a belief that if Belichick didn't get a head coaching job, he would look for this one, depending on how this upcoming season goes with Dallas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could definitely see that. And if you look at it, a lot of these coaches would salivate at having Dak Prescott as their quarterback. That was Bill's problem with the Patriots. They couldn't find a quarterback. Bill doesn't need your. Now, Tom, some of those Super Bowls, Tom just wanted to put the team on his back. But those early Super Bowls, one thing Bill could do is build a defense and build a tough team. You build a defense, a tough team, and a team that can run the football. Dak Prescott could definitely, go on deep playoff runs without any doubt in my mind. But the Cowboys, the problem with the Cowboys now is they care what it looks like when they win. They want to throw 50 times. They want it to be shootouts. They want it to look a certain way, and that's not what wins championships. At least not in Dallas.
And that's not their DNA. They won their championships off running the football, complimentary ball, having great defenses. This whole stuff now with ratings and throwing the ball, it's insane. I feel like they kind of hindered Dak some in regards to that, making him throw those 50+ times, because that took away from what Zeke did during that time. So I just want them to go back to like a running DNA, like what they did before, with complementary football as well as building a solid defense.
And if you look at it, Earl, heck, Patrick Mahomes even needed that this year. He needed a defense that was tough, and they needed a run game in Pacheco. And he won a Super Bowl. He did it another way. So he did it in a way that we're asking our team to do it.
I think you guys made some really good points. Let's go ahead and go to Mal. And Mal, what's going on in Giants land?
So Giants land is kind of quiet, but with the franchise tag deadline coming, there's one thing that we can talk about. It's that Xavier McKinney, our safety, who is hitting free agency. It looks like the Giants are potentially going to use the transition tag on him, which would cost the Giants $13.9 million, which does save them from what the franchise tag would be, which I believe is around $16.3 for the safety position. So this tag will allow McKinney to negotiate with any other team and come up with a deal, and the Giants could match it. And I do like that. I do like the fact that he can go out there and he can test the market. And if the Giants feel another team gives him a fair enough deal that they feel comfortable matching, then they do it. If not, they let him go. So it kind of gives McKinney the freedom he wants to negotiate a new deal and kind of be appreciated. So, but that's really all we have going on right now. Everything else is pretty quiet.
I was about to say, no word on Saquon. We'll talk
Nope.
about that when and if that happens. I don't think they're going to franchise him, guys. I really don't.
I don't either.
I don't. It'd be a little bit pricey on that point.
Yeah.
You, Mal, do you foresee Saquon being back on the Giants, or do you see him walking?
I see him walking. I don't have a good feeling about it, but if he
Even though
doesn't
he's-
walk,
Even though he says he wants to be a Giant for life.
yeah, I just don't think I don't foresee us paying what he wants, but in the end, I don't know. We might work it out. I'm very 50-50 on it, but I'm leaning more toward he walks.
Okay, fair enough. And not time to talk about the Commanders now. Not too much going on there. We filled up the rest of our coaching staff, most of the moves of which I like. We were able to poach a few Cowboys assistant coaches too, so that, if nothing else, that just makes me happy that we stole from a division rival. That always makes me happy there. Lance Newman was hired as the assistant GM. He was I think, vice president of player personnel for the Lions. We know the Lions have drafted very well in the last couple of years. So it looks like the Commanders are looking to build through the draft moving forward, not only with the hire of Adam Peters, but the hires of Newman as well. That is a very good sign for me there. The other thing that I want to mention,
Dan Quinn.
I mean, we've talked about Dan Quinn already. Well, what else do you want me to say about him?
Do you feel like he's a long-term answer or short-term?
Honestly, I think he's a short-term answer. I think they want a culture guy in there, and I think Dan Quinn definitely brings the type of culture that the new ownership is looking for. Whether or not that computes, I mean, look, the guy's made it to a Super Bowl before, so I mean, of course, I'm hoping for the best in this scenario. But I've also seen his defenses melt down in playoffs multiple times now. Most recently with you guys this past year. So I'm hopeful, but we have to wait and see. The player that I'm really hoping that he rubs off in a good way on is Emmanuel Forbes, our ball hawk of a rookie. I'm really hoping that he can turn him into like a Diggs type player. That's what I'm hoping for. I think that there's potential.
That would be under Joe Witt.
Well, I mean, Joe Witt is the defensive coordinator now, but obviously, yes, same philosophy there. I do want to bring up one other thing. So when we initiated the coaching search, somebody asked about the name change, and at the time, our new owner, Josh Harris, said that that's not a high priority. What do you guys think the new name should be, and when do you guys think it should happen?
Back to the old name.
They've already crossed that off the list. That's not going to happen. What about you, DMV?
Man, I thought you guys should have gone with the Wolves.
That's what I'm saying. The Washington Red Wolves, man.
Man, I thought that was gonna be sick, but the Commanders, I'm like,
I
I
hope
don't know.
I hope that if they change the name, that it is going to go to the Red Wolves. What about
Or,
you? Huh? I'm sorry. Go ahead, DMV.
or I was gonna say they could have just cut it short and went with the Skins. Like I thought they were gonna do that too, but
And they could rephrase it to like the pigskins on the footballs. That works. You could
yeah,
redo it.
exactly.
You could redo it. What about you, Earl?
I actually have two names. One is a serious and one is a funny. I'm gonna go
Oh
with the
gosh,
serious. Yep. I was thinking Washington Seminoles.
Seminoles,
Kind of like like Florida
Florida.
State.
I think there's going to be too much copyright there.
Okay, it is what it is. Funny. I'm gonna call y'all the football wizards.
Stop. No. You know what they should call us? The Washington Magic after Magic Johnson.
Mm. I don't know
Just
if
saying.
that's gonna work, sir.
I mean, owners have named their teams after them before, like the Charlotte Bobcats. Just saying, it's not impossible. Matt, what do you
So
think?
you
Go
have a
ahead, Maurice.
Orlando and a Washington Magic.
Okay, there are other sports like the Cardinals. Cardinals have a baseball team and a football team.
Fair enough.
Like I said,
True.
football wizards will fit perfectly with what they got going
They
on.
already no. Matt, what do you think?
So my take is I hate the name, but at this point, why change it? At this point, why change it?
Because it's Dan Snyder. And
Yeah, I
nobody wants
know,
anything to associate with him.
but
Like he can
realistically,
go in a hole and die. Like nobody wants to deal with him. He's a predator. He's a money launderer. All this other stuff.
if it's gonna be anything, I would make it the Red Wolves, but if not, I would just keep it the way it is. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. Look, I think it's the Red Wolves too. I hope it's probably
That's
not
gonna
going
be
to
like,
happen.
what's that? The fourth time you'd have to buy new gear with the new name?
That's why I'm not buying any new gear. And
That's
Until
wild. That's
I'm not
wild.
buying any new gear, which really stinks because there's some nice gear online right now that I'm looking at. I'm like, man, I look good in that. But I can't get it because I don't know when the name change is going to happen. And like, look, I don't think it's going to happen this off season. I think it's probably going to happen next off season. I think because we have 3 years to change the name because of new ownership. So that's what I think is going to happen. Yes, I want the Washington Red Wolves so bad. It needs to happen. I've already made a fake logo for it on Canva. Let's do it. Like, what are we doing here? But anyway, now it's time to get to them fly, Eagles fly. Right, Maurice?
That's right. How about them birds? But
Don't do that.
yeah.
Go Birds.
Go birds. It was a slow weekend in Philadelphia as well. But one bit of news that came out was Hassan Reddick. It was reported that he requested a trade. I think he came out and said he didn't request a trade, but we don't know how that goes. It's out there now. So, and I'll say this: I kind of expected this going into his last year. He's asking for top 10 edge rusher money. Now, Nick Bosa, who's much better, the best edge rusher in the game right now, making 32 million. Hassan Reddick next season will make 15. Now, personally, I think that's good money for what he does, and it would have behooved him to ask for more money last season when he had more sacks. But with that said, he's requested a trade, and at the age of 29, I could definitely see Howie Roseman not, you know, giving him long term money.
I probably wouldn't give him long-term money.
Especially with a new defensive coordinator coming in, you don't know how he's going to be used. This is a tough one because I actually like Reddick. I like Hassan Reddick's good. If they can choose between him or Montez, excuse me, not Montez Sweat, Josh Sweat.
He's in Chicago.
Josh Sweat, the other Sweat in the division. I would move on from Josh Sweat before I move on from Hassan Reddick. But with that said, if they do trade him after June 1st, they would save 16 million.
Mm,
With
there
a
you
cap
go.
with a cap hit, what was a dead money cap of almost $6 million.
Hmm.
So I think he will get moved. I think he will get traded at some point during the summer. How he gets back for him, we will see. Howie Roseman is a good negotiator. He doesn't come off on a short end of a trade most times. So I'll leave that to him. If it was up to me, I would bring him back on a short-term deal or restructure his current contract. But it'll be sad to see him go. He's a Philly native, went to Temple University. I could definitely I foresee him getting traded, and it sucks. But you got to move on. You got to get younger. Nolan Smith is projected to be that edge rusher of the future. I'm not the biggest Nolan Smith fan, but he can get better. He can get better. He can improve over the offseason. I'm not taking that away from him. He's young. So we'll see how that goes. But that's the only news right now coming out of Eagles territory. So all right, so going to the next segment, and let's talk about our social media question of the week, and that is, who's that player? Now, this one was for a Dallas Cowboys player, so I'll just throw the question out there. The year 2003 season, he had 11 pass deflections, 2 forced fumble recoveries, 2 sacks, 121 total tackles, 11 tackles for loss, and he was an all-pro second team. So, Earl, DMV, you guys know who it is?
I know who it is.
Yeah, Earl actually gave me the suggestion. Don't ask me.
Okay.
DMV, do you know who it is?
I do, because you guys gave me the answer.
Oh, that's great. Well, go ahead and tell us who it is.
Dat Nguyen, man. Dat Nguyen.
Yeah, Dat Nguyen.
Yeah, I
love
my
favorite
him,
linebackers. Him and Dexter Coakley.
Oh, and they were under Zimmer too.
Yep, they were.
They were the defensive coordinator then. That's why I'm excited about having him.
Would you have known that if it wasn't in the agenda just based off the stats in the year?
I would have probably guessed. I would have guessed one of them two. One of those linebackers for sure. Yeah, because that was I think at one point that defense was number 1 in the league. At one point, that was 2001, right?
No, like 2003. That was the
2003. Yeah, 2003. That defense was number 1 at one point.
It was. I remember that too.
Yeah. So Dat Nguyen was the first Vietnamese American player to be drafted, and also the first to be an All-Pro in the NFL.
Maurice, when did you do that research? I didn't even do that research for that. That's it. I did not know that.
You can thank Wikipedia for that.
Oh, okay.
That was really impressive.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my source. I'll cite my source, wikipedia.com.
Okay.
Yeah, that one also played his college at Texas A&M.
All right.
Yeah, he's 2017. He went into the College Football Hall of Fame.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, before we wrap things up, guys, I do just want to retell our listeners who haven't had a chance to listen to Mal and I's commercial for season 2 what to expect for season 2. We're going to have new graphics. We're also going to be doing a lot of off-season stuff. Sundays, we're going to have trivias. Mondays, we're going to have Who's That Players. Tuesdays, we're going to have team raffles. Now, let me explain the raffles to you guys real quick. You follow the instructions in the comment, description area of the graphic of the post, and whoever can follow those descriptions will be entered in to qualify for the raffle to win, to be a guest on our show, to get to talk about your favorite team. Now, it should be noted that there will be additional screening afterwards, after you've been selected, to make sure you're over 18, you're not a bot, stuff like that. So make sure that when you do this, you follow the directions exactly. That being said, Wednesdays, you're always going to get our recording notice. Thursdays, the goal is to always have new episodes. Fridays, we're going to have a poll out. And Saturdays, we're going to put a mailbag out. So either of the NFC East in general or a particular team, so that you guys can ask your questions about that team. That being said, Mal, how about you go ahead and play things out for us?
So I just wanted to formally thank DMB for coming on. We loved having you, so thank you so much again. I also wanted to thank our listeners, and please make sure you subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio, 13 Rings and NFC East Podcast. And make sure you follow us on Twitter or X, Facebook, and Instagram, 13 Rings and NFC East Podcast. And have a great night, everybody.
See you.
Blessings.
See you.
See ya.